Representative Chris Collins, Republican from New York, thanks for being with us today.
Happy to join you.
Well, we're here at the Job Creators Alliance Free Enterprise Leadership Summit. What's your message to attendees here?
Well, in the talk this morning, the breakfast talk, we were talking about the impact of Obamacare on small business, and I'm chairing the Small Business Subcommittee on Health and Technology. So we're going to be having hearings on Obamacare. But Obamacare is devastating, especially to small businesses who right now, they're trying to plan for the future. They want to grow, but at 50 employees, they're subject to providing health insurance or being subject to this tax or penalty, as you may want to call it.
The economy right now is so fragile. Do you see Obamacare sending us back into recession or even worse, perhaps in the next year or two?
Well, I think with Obamacare, you're not going to see growth. You're seeing companies, for instance, the medical device tax is wiping out 50% of the profits of a lot of companies that are going to be subject to that tax. Now, what does that mean? It means that their stock price is going to drop in half if they don't do anything, since stock prices are directly linked to profits. So they're cutting R&D budgets. They're cutting what you'd call non-essential employees, and they're reducing their expenses so they don't have this huge impact on their bottom line. And that's all going to hurt the economy. Companies with 47 employees are not going to add 4 more employees. The 39.6%, which is the marginal tax rate now in small business, because we're mostly pass-through entities. Entrepreneurs aren't going to start new businesses. The risk-reward is now out of balance. So, I mean, our message is really, and we did this on the Republican side with the Path to Prosperity, some would call it the Ryan budget, repealing Obamacare, getting the marginal tax rate down to 25%, incentivizing job creators, the small business people in America to create jobs. That's the path to prosperity. Right now we're on the path to oblivion.
Now, yesterday the Health and Human Services Department said that Obamacare is racking up twice the cost to set up insurance exchanges, $4.4 billion. You touched on repeal. Republicans were unsuccessful with that in the end, obviously, because of the Democrat majority in the Senate and obviously having a Democrat in the White House. Is there anything else that Republicans can do? Are there any other tools in the arsenal that can be used to put a stop to this reckless spending?
Well, in the case of Obamacare, one of the things I'm going to be proposing is, number one, we redefine part-time, and not for 30 hours, but make it 36 hours. And to possibly redefine the size of a business that would be subject to Obamacare. Make it not 50 employees, make it 250, to lessen some of the impacts. And I'd like to see us say that the medical device tax cannot exceed 10% of a company's profits, so that it's not as devastating as it could be. You're right, as long as President Obama is in office, he will never sign off on the repeal of his signature piece of legislation. But our message to the American public is, if we want a bright future for our children and grandchildren, here's some things we're going to have to do. And if we don't do them today, the messaging is Obamacare is going to be a wet blanket on the economy. And so let's hope in 3.5 years we can repeal it. Because if we don't, I don't think we'll ever have a balanced budget. And the public's going to see the devastation of this. And so we're talking about it now, setting the stage. We're going to keep talking about it for the next 3.5 years.
Now, let's switch gears real quickly, because I want to ask you about President Obama's budget, which he unveiled, his budget plan, $3.77 trillion with changes to entitlements and higher taxes on high-income earners. What's your take on his proposal?
Well, it goes back to President Obama really thinks there's a revenue problem. He just wants more revenue. That means higher taxes, and that's a fundamental difference. We on the Republican side would say, and I think the American public agrees, we have a spending problem. We spend too much in Washington. The American public, families, they live on a budget. They live within their means. They may spend everything they have, but they don't spend more than they have. Only the government and the president would say we can run deficits forever. His budget never balances. The Democrat budget in the Senate never balances. Their message to the American public is somehow we're immune from common sense fiscal policies of living within your means. So his budget is a non-starter. It's more taxes. He's taking money away from the most vulnerable seniors and reducing the cost of living adjustment for our veterans and our seniors who are struggling today. So his budget isn't going to get any support really from Democrats or Republicans. It's a non-starter.
Democrats are predicting that House Republicans will cave on taxes again. Do you see that happening?
There is no chance whatsoever of House Republicans caving on taxes. The president got his taxes, $800 billion in taxes last year in the fiscal cliff negotiation. He's got his revenue. It's now all about spending. Let's reduce our spending. Let's block grant Medicaid. Let's honor the Constitution and the 10th Amendment, that states' rights. Let the states decide the best way to handle programs like Medicaid. And no, there is zero chance.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
That we would cave on taxes.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about gun control now. There's been this bipartisan agreement on guns announced on background checks coming out of the Senate. The NRA is threatening to punish lawmakers on a gun control vote despite this deal. Can you and other Republicans in the House support this?
Well, again, I'll go back to the Constitution, the 10th Amendment and states' rights. Gun control, to the extent we have it, is something the states should decide. It's where it is today. I'm from New York. We have the most onerous gun control laws anywhere. I don't agree with most of those. I'm pro-Second Amendment. I have a carry permit, and I believe in the right to have the guns. But the federal government should not even be talking about this. So it's a states' rights issue, and that's where it belongs. And what we've seen is the president politicizing tragedies in Newtown and in Webster, New York. Now, those are states with the toughest gun laws there are. They're individuals who did what they did, who did not legally have guns. What the president's wanting to do in many cases is punish legal gun owners. And he's politicizing a tragedy, and that is an unconscionable thing he's doing. But I don't believe that the legislation belongs in D.C. at all.
Representative Chris Collins, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you.